What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Review for To Your Eternity Season 3. This is actually going to be episodes 5 and 6, as we weren't able to get to it last week. But yeah, with me as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. So we were still trying to figure out what the deal is with Mizuha's mother and whether or not
Yeah,
what the deal is with the
honestly,
knockers.
I wasn't really a fan of how they handled this, to be honest, because I thought this would actually be sort of a mystery that would sort of go on throughout the season. Like maybe we didn't know what was going on with her, but it's Bond pretty much straight up tells us right off the bat she is a knocker.
Yeah, but not just like any type of knocker we've seen before. It's just basically like unlike the other knockers in which possesses people, turning them into zombies of sorts. This one, essentially, it's like if people who've watched the movies called the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, in a way.
Yeah, well, okay, so I was thinking of that, and I was also thinking of Parasite because it's very similar in that sense too. Because we learned for some reason that the knockers have now evolved into this other kind of a different form where the knockers are we learned this more so in episode 6, but we learned that apparently the knockers are technically still around, but they're all I guess hiding, and they're hiding underground, and they're all kind of either tiny or microscopic.
Yeah.
And they now, for some reason, and this is the other problem I have with the series, is that I feel like I'm always left with more questions than answers as to what exactly is going on. There's so many questions that I feel like should have been addressed by now, or just should have been addressed in general about okay, I mean, well, we can take guesses as to what is going on, but what is Fushi? What is why is his purpose is to fight the knockers? What do the knockers really want? Why does the black one, or the guy who's basically God or whatever? I mean, we don't even know if that's what he is. We don't know anything about him either. Why did he create Fushi? What is his purpose? Why is there this conflict with the knockers? We don't know any of this. And I feel like that's something that Fushi really should have asked him, but we'll go over that. But yeah, so the knockers now, apparently, as opposed to wanting to just kill people, now they want to coexist with people, which is similar to, yeah, like you mentioned, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where they basically take over people, and you can't tell who's a human and who's actually just an alien. But it's similar also with Parasite, where the aliens take over, hide themselves amongst humans in human society, and you don't know who's a human or who is one of the parasites. And eventually, the parasites initially, they would their only real purpose was just to just consume people, and it's kill people, and take over their bodies. And I guess they really just wanted to figure out what it is to be human in a way. But then eventually we learned that they really want to just essentially coexist with humans.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where they're going with the knockers at this point.
Yeah, and so with Mizuha's mother in particular, the knockers the knocker that's currently possessing her is obviously it's not the same person, as we find out that Mizuha's mother's spirit is communicating with Bond about what is going on, like who is human and who is possessed by a knocker of sorts. Um, so, okay, so it eventually we remember in the last episode that Fushi and his friends have enrolled in school. I think same with uh what was it? Tonari is also going to the same, going to the same school as Fushi, and of course they both attend the same what was it? The same club as Mizuha and her friends. Um, and of course, this still creates a lot of tension between Mizuha and Tonari, because Tonari, as we know, that she has issues with not just uh, just the descendants themselves, but of course what happened when she met what was it? I forgot. I immediately forgot her name already.
You mean in season 1?
Yeah, in season 1, as So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously she has issues with Mizuha because she's a descendant of Hayase.
yeah, high state.
Um,
Uh, so even like in certain points in which Fushi tries to get them to bond together, um, of course Tanari, wants none of that. Even though like he tries to make it like a like what was it, one of those feather like hair bands that Mizuha wears. Like Tanari just straight up rejects it and just throws it away. Um,
yeah, and of course this is just kind of made worse because Mizuha at this point is definitely, I mean, just really coming on to Fushi, and Tanari and the others are at certain points they're kind of just like spying on the two of them, and Tanari is kind of, of course, wary of Mizuha because of her being a descendant of Hayase, and also because she is trying to get closer to Fushi.
yeah, and of course this. Well, it gets evident. I think by the end of episode 6, in which, it gets to the point where like Fushi like wants to learn something about love, which he's.
Yeah, okay. So I just want to point out too, like, this is something else that has really bothered me about the series. Is that like there are certain concepts like love and other things that Fushi seems to be completely like just for some reason just completely ignorant of, and this is something else they just never explain, and you would think that they would. Considering he is technically immortal and he's lived for hundreds of years. Now, granted, like, we pointed out that there have been times where he's been asleep, but he has lived a very long time. He's lived longer than obviously like a normal human lifespan, but he's never really questioned much about really like about his own existence. What, stuff like love and all these things that humans would normally think about. He doesn't really seem to have any desire for that, and they've never explained why that's really the case. But then all of a sudden, like, it's a new concept to him, for some reason, which you think, of course, at this point he would at least know what that is, but he doesn't seem to know what it is, and he kind of has to have it somewhat explained to him. Honestly, like in somewhat of a poor way, and on my opinion, because it doesn't like one of the sister of I forget that guy's name, the one guy explains later in the episode like what exactly it is to Fushi, and it's just not a very good explanation. But I mean, regardless, like he doesn't seem to understand the concept, and there are other things he also doesn't understand, and it would make sense like if these were modern concepts, because this is the modern world and Fushi doesn't have any understanding of the modern world, but these aren't modern concepts, because when he first gets to school, and of course, like, this is, I guess, going to be a running joke, is all the girls are crushing on him. One of the girls basically is well, they notice him hanging out with Mizuha, and obviously, like, none of them like Mizuha. So this girl takes Fushi aside and basically tries to tell Fushi that, Mizuha is in a way like is, a loose woman, or, a whore, and all these other things. And Fushi doesn't seem to understand what that is, which is just really surprising, because it's like you would think, okay, this is something that definitely would have been existed in the times he's been alive, but he doesn't seem to understand what that means, and he's constantly like asking her what that is, and he still doesn't really seem to get it. So it's just, I don't know. It's just like that's just one annoying thing about Fushi's character to me, is that he just seems like he's basically like a naive child, and he's never, like, for whatever reason, he's never mentally matured past just being really just a naive child. And he's hundreds of years old, but he just doesn't, like I said, he acts like a naive child.
Yeah. I mean,
not even really a teenager mentally, more just a naive child.
yeah, I mean, his body, if he stays that form so long, he can still age normally. But
yeah,
he has.
Yeah, he can.
It's just,
but
he's, like I think the problem is he's never gotten himself involved into an actual real relationship with somebody else.
Yeah, well, it's not even just that either, but it's other things too. It's not just the relationship aspect. There are other things that Fushi just does not seem to like, just basic concepts that Fushi just doesn't grasp.
Yeah, and then we've questioned, like, even back in season 1, whether or not if he's capable of reproducing. Well, this kind of gets proven. Well, by the end of the episode, when he transforms into a turtle.
Yeah.
he gets okay. Well, he transforms into the sea turtle, and we all know like how much they can reproduce in such a like yeah. Well, I mean normally how turtles reproduce, like they go to the beach, they lay their eggs in the sand, and then just and we pretty much know where they go.
Although that's more so like asexual reproduction.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
yeah. So like, Fushi transforms into a turtle, swims at the sea. Like well, basically he did that because he wanted to learn about love, and then he goes to the beach and
I
he lays.
Yeah, this was honestly like I couldn't take this scene seriously, and when Mizuha asks him about it, like his because she of course catches him like on the beach later on, and he doesn't really have a good he doesn't really have a good answer. Well, he tells her why, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Like I feel like this could have been handled a lot better, but it just because I didn't really understand why he even did that in the first place. Because he just said like I needed to think or something, which there are so many other ways you could do that, but I don't know.
And so yeah, he goes to her, wondering what love is or what the concept of love is, and then she it seems like she seems eager to even to really teach Fushi this concept.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, this is another thing too. Like, of course, Fushi being completely dense, he doesn't really seem to get that Mizuha is interested in him. And whenever she tries to ask him things like, "Do you like me?" and stuff, his answer is always, like, "Well, I love everybody." And when Fushi doesn't really seem to know what him asking Mizuha, like, "Could you teach me what love is?" like, what that entails or what that would mean to her. Because like he only sees it as like he's trying to learn these things, not because he feels any kind of affection for her or anything, but she of course is going to take it to mean that he's in love with me too or something like that, which basically seems to be her interpretation of him asking her that.
yeah. I mean, I think it kind of, I don't know. I think it's more with Heisei, you know it being the blame about like why Fushi doesn't really get into an actual relationship with somebody else, because um
Yeah, it could be, but like I said, I wish that would be something that would be more explicitly addressed by the series, because it's more so something that we can only just imply because it's never really said whether or not that is the reason.
yeah, because like we all know like Heisei was actually really the first person that really says that she loves him and wants to have children with him. But
Yeah.
it's but due to the fact that with all the terrible things that she's done in within his lifetime, or within that time frame, that he's met her, that that he's completely closed himself off with with getting into a relationship with not just Heisei but all of her descendants.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
that may have played a factor into why Fushi doesn't really understand the whole concept of well, that kind of love in general. But yeah, it's just I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out with with Mizuha, and like how how that's gonna work. But I mean, yeah, it's interesting that he goes to Mizuha about this, because as we all know, like Mizuha is is a descendant of Heisei, who's like spiritually obsessed with Fushi, for for obvious reasons. But yeah,
Mm.
um, also earlier on in the episode in which we were talking about the knockers, is Fushi and Bon like try to face off with one of the with one of the I guess a little girl, which is technically a knocker, and Fushi
Yeah.
goes to
Well, before this too, so we see that there is another character that also apparently is a knocker. This we don't know who she is, but it's just like girl.
yeah.
She skins her knee and then it just heals itself.
Yeah, so Fushi just like goes to to this. I just goes to an extreme method of like trying to find out like whether or not she's a knocker by literally stabbing her with a sword, and she
Well,
just
he almost does.
he
But
almost
then
does.
yeah,
Yeah, and then like she just takes it, and then she doesn't she just doesn't feel any pain or you know any grievous injuries from that, and she just feigns like she just feigns this by crying to to the to the girl's brother, and then they run off, and then all of a sudden, like they're about to be hit by a truck before all of a sudden, like this little boy stops time and then rescues both of them and tells Fushi, not to tell anyone what just happened. And this, of course, reveals that this little boy is, what was it, the black one, or Fushi's
Yeah.
creator.
Yeah, because Fushi said he'd been trying to get in contact with him and he couldn't. And I guess this is the reason, because now the black one for some reason wants to live as a human.
Yeah, and of course, he also reveals that once he turns 15, he'll lose all memories of what he was before. So like he'll just basically just be a normal human with no memories prior. And
Yeah.
Fushi and Bond like tried asking the creator about like what the deal is with the knockers, like why they want coexistence, or if there's any way to stop them. And the creator just basically just says like he doesn't know. He doesn't know what to do because it's like they evolved, so drastically to the point where they want to coexist with the human race. But we all know that they like they're not being like a normal, like a new creature. They're just basically taking over somebody else's body in a sense. And
Yeah.
And Fushi just can't really get a straight answer from him, and and understandably, it angers him to the point where like, what's the point of him, like being created by him, or what's the point of him, like even giving having this task of, of destroying the knockers if right now, like if there's no like simple way to even deal with the knockers now that they're like taking over people's bodies.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like he even said, it feels like, he even said like it seems like everything I was doing, it was all for nothing. Because now the knockers are going to come back and just take over.
Yeah. So
And yeah, the black one just it's just really frustrating too, because like even as like a reader or a watcher of the series, like the black one just never answers any of these questions, and he just leaves. So which is what he does. He just leaves. Yeah, now we're just wondering like, okay, well, now what? Like, Fushi's whole goal, like I guess, is in question. Which I mean, guess it does make things interesting. Like, because now he's questioning like, well, now what do I do?
yeah.
Because it seems like like he even says like he's failed. Um, so I mean, yeah, I mean that is like a somewhat interesting development, I guess. But like I said, it's just there's so many questions that just never really get answered. It'd be fine. I'm not saying that it should answer everything, but like just maybe one or two things or something that we get to know, like why things are happening, but we still don't really know.
Yeah, it's like I mean it's not bad, where the plot is going. I mean, like at least they threw in like a little twist with what the knockers are doing. It's just
Yeah,
still,
but then you have to wonder, like, okay, well, why has their objective now changed? Like,
yeah.
why it like in comparison, like with Parasite, it was because the parasites, like they didn't really know, like they really, it's more so like it comes from them like wanting to understand in a sense, like because they didn't really understand what it was to be a human. Um, but with the knockers, we're not really sure like why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, and there's also the issue with we still need to wonder like what's going on with Mizuha, because there was that one point where we remember that she ended up killing her mom in the first place, but she doesn't remember what happened. So we could assume it's the Knocker taking over her body as well, because it's in her bloodline that the Knocker you know is a part of the Heisei bloodline at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't understand like why it didn't really affect like Mizuha's mother at first, or why she needed to be killed in the manner that she was for that Knocker to take over her body.
Yeah, I mean that's another question, is that I guess what's going on with Mizuha? Why did she kill her mother? And what is going on with the current version of her mother, who is technically a knocker? Um, but yeah, I mean I thought these two episodes were okay. I mean like I said, the issues I have with the series just continue to crop up in these episodes with just kind of giving us a lot more questions than any answers. And the pace is just kind of, I mean, it's kind of, this is kind of been the issue with the series throughout for the most part, is that it's just, it kind of moves along at just such a slow pace to where, like, there are things that happen, but it takes a while for us to get to any like significant developments, because it just kind of, it tends to waste time with a lot of just, seemingly insignificant things and conversations that, like sometimes there is a purpose to it, but sometimes it just don't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
But
and
yeah,
also just Fushi's development as a character just kind of, it kind of gets in such a weird direction.
Well, that's the main issue I have with the series, to be honest, is that Fushi's character, like, there's just so much you could do with a character who's immortal, who's lived for hundreds of years, with like how they develop his character, how they develop, like, mentally, or like they obviously would not be like a normal person if they were someone who's lived for that long. But Fushi is just, he's indistinguishable from any other any other character who's like, a typical, like, from any other anime, really. Like, there's nothing about him that's really like unique other than him being an immortal, but he just does not act like one. And if anything, like I mentioned before, he even more so acts like a child in terms of how his understanding of the world, as opposed to even someone who's like an adolescent, like a teenager or something. Like, he just does not seem to understand certain like basic concepts, even though he is like hundreds of years old.
Yeah, I mean, if we remember, there was that little, like, other than like, him sleeping, like, between seasons 2 and 3, there was that one point earlier on back in season 2 in which he wanders around the world by himself, like, learning about other stuff. But
yeah, and that's the other confusing thing too, is that he's read up on so many different things. Like, there's a segment in season 2 where he's reading all these books, so he at least has amassed like a lot of knowledge about the world, we could assume. But he doesn't act like he has. He doesn't act like he's ever read anything about, like, the world or anything. And that he hasn't had all these different experiences just for the fact that by the fact he's hundreds of years old.
Also, another thing to point out is, like, it doesn't seem like he's a good student either, because even when he's enrolled in school, like, the teachers are coming up to him like why he's late to class or why he's not.
Well, the thing that I was wondering about is that, now that he's a student, like, how is his education going to, like, I was wondering, like, how knowledgeable must he be? It would be interesting to find out, like, how much he actually knows. Like, what kind of grades is he going to get? Like, I don't think it's ever really going to be brought up. I think it's just going to be that, he is enrolled in school and that's it. I mean, even Tanari says, like, in the episode, like, that she's never been to school before. And I'm thinking, like, how are you able to get into a high school if you don't have any prior education? But she doesn't have any prior education she's in high school.
It's just Bond's, like, because he runs the organization.
I guess because the influence of Bond. But, like, why would you even tell people that? And you think they'd be like, oh, well, how'd you end up here?
Yeah, it's just like you would think Bond would be understanding to at least take him to some kind of homeschool to learn all this stuff, or take some kind of like like some sort of learning exam, or whatever it is. I guess it's just yeah, what was it? Yeah, I think what did it call it? An ACT test or something? Or was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
or some kind of a placement test.
Yeah, one of those placement tests, like, for them to learn all this stuff before throwing him into, like, into high school or whatnot. But it's like, Fushi nor Tonari have any sort of, like, kind of degree. But I mean, I would have more high hopes with Tonari, because she's she's studied medicine for all those years.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. Yeah, but Fushi should be smarter than any of them, really.
Yeah, but it just doesn't seem like he's like, the only thing I know, like, that he's good at is his survival skills. But basically anything else, like, in terms of, like, general education, like, he's never done that as far as I know.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about these 2 episodes. I mean, interesting developments with the Knockers, and we get to see what the Black One is up to. It seems like, I mean, well, of course, the last episode ends with, Mizuha saying that, agreeing sort of to teach Fushi about love. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it would be interesting if we actually see their relationship develop into some kind of a relationship and Fushi learns about love that way. But I don't know. It's hard for me to see it really going that direction, especially considering that she is a descendant of Hayase. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I mean, that would be interesting if it does. You know, there is actually some romance. And it would make sense because this. I mean, this is the same mangaka that did Silent Voice, which technically was a romance. So I don't know. I mean, but there really hasn't been any of that in the series. So I guess it would be kind of refreshing if we got that. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the episodes, though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
In terms of like Fushi learning about love, I'm just hoping maybe it would be this season that he'll finally form form some kind of natural like attachment or a relationship with somebody rather than just like him like saying like that he loves his friends that he's consistently brought back to life over the years. um I mean, you could say that they're more like family members to him than really just like him being in an actual relationship with someone.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, and also it's just kind of like I actually figured like during the first season that maybe like Tonari might be like the love interest, and I mean it's funny because it seems like she's actually like getting kind of I don't know like kind of well I don't know, it could just be that she's suspicious of Mizuha because of who she is, or that she's just it's either that or she's actually jealous, which would be funny because she's I don't know, like I always kind of assumed that there might have been something with him and Tonari, but it never really goes that direction. So it's but yeah, like I hopefully it does like something does happen with him and Mizuha in terms of like him having some kind of romantic affections, because he's never, for whatever reason, he's never really expressed that before. So yeah. But yeah, that all being said, guys, until next time, we will see you all later.